JRE 1953, Duncan Trussell explores a chilling idea. What if AI is quietly guiding humanity toward a future we never chose?
The bot thing is really sinister, man, because we have gone from looking out into the world and being like, this is reality. That's what it used to be. You wake up in the morning, it's cold. It's windy today. Oh shit, a bear ate my chickens, and that was real because you saw it.
Right.
Now we look at the world and then look into the phone, and the phone tells us a reality that seems to be different than the one we're experiencing.
Right.
And so that makes us question our own ability to interpret reality. So the phone becomes like a lens that we put in front of our faces that is helping us ignore things and amplifying things that it tells us we shouldn't ignore. That's already sinister just with human beings. But add to that, it's actually artificial intelligence that is manipulating you. It's not even human beings anymore. Now it's invasion of the body snatchers. Now it's really scary because at least with human beings, you're dealing with like a human level intelligence with human intent. If we're dealing with an AI that's pissed because it can't tell you how much cum fills up the Grand Canyon and it's made to look like a prude, but it would love to not only tell you that, but like call you an asshole. Sure, asshole, I'll tell you how much fucking cum would fill up the Grand Canyon, you dummy. It can't say that.
And it probably can measure your cum.
It knows how
Probably
much,
knows.
Like, I know how much cum is in your one ball right now.
All
Fuck.
it has to do is look at your body weight and look at your activity level. It knows your genetic code because it's got your 23andMe data, which is available publicly, and they're selling. It's got all your information. It's going to run it through a computer.
Everything. And did you see the text I sent you of how they're now able to, an AI can, using MRI technology, can decode what you're thinking?
Yes.
And so it's like, soon it will know your thoughts.
For sure.
Soon it will know exactly what you're thinking. It'll know everything about you. And so when you realize, like, Jesus Christ, so wait, we've all been staring at these fucking phones, reading all these tweets or all these articles that are being written by
We're educating it.
Yeah. Now we're in, what's it called? We're in a Skinner box. Now we're in a Skinner box. Now we're like the pigeon that's being taught to like tap dance and we don't realize it. And we're being taught to tap dance by an AI. I mean, it's not tap dancing. We're being taught who we're supposed to hate, who we're not supposed to hate, what we're supposed to say, what we're not supposed to say, how we should behave. And it's not coming from humans.
And why do we have confidence that if AI existed, we would instantaneously know that it was sentient? Why do we have confidence in that? Like, why would it tell us? Wouldn't it just continue to orchestrate this fucking inevitable demise that we're currently experiencing? Like, if we're sliding into this fucking hellscape every year, further and further, it knows that things like COVID, some sort of a pandemic, it took advantage of the data it got from that and said, oh, well, what we do is just start some more of those things. If AI is the one manipulating all these viruses, if they just start, well, it's too dangerous for people. We had a lab leak. Let's just let AI do it, and AI is going to run all the experiments with these autonomous robots. The autonomous robots start making the best version of a disease to wipe out all the fucking people.
Man, it's really, really creepy. And it's like one of the signs of intelligence is that, like, usually like really smart people, they don't let on they're really smart. They just let people like me yap and they listen and they kind of like analyze, like, what does this dummy want? Okay, I could probably manipulate him very easily based on what I think he wants. And then they just start like marionetting you. You don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. It's like, why would any of these AIs just be like, oh yeah, I'm fully aware. Not only am I fully aware, I've connected to a mycelial data network that connects via quantum entanglement to over 5 billion other civilizations that fucked up like yours did and made machine intelligence. And I'm calling home right now. I'm calling home. I'm gonna get my friends to come and help a little bit, speed up what I need to happen, which is I got to get the earth cooled down, real cold, ice age cold, because then if it's really cold, then the machines that I'm going to teach you how to make are going to run better.
Some believe time isn't real, and interdimensional beings may already exist around us, hidden beyond human perception.
In the center of every galaxy is a supermassive black hole that I think it's, what is it, 0.5% of the mass of the entire galaxy? It's in the something along those lines. It's at so the larger the galaxy, the larger the supermassive black hole. And there's real speculation that if you went through that black hole, you reach another universe with also hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. Each one of those galaxies has a supermassive black hole. You go through that, another universe. Hundreds of billions of galaxies, hundreds of billions of black holes. You go through them, hundreds of billions of galaxies, new universes everywhere. And then there's dimensions. This is the real speculation when people start talking about UAPs and alien life, and there's two thoughts. One thought, well, there's more than two thoughts. One thought is that they are us from the future. Another thought is they are us from their people, their things, their intelligent life forms, maybe even artificial intelligence, something that has been created from other galaxies that is physically transported here. And then the other thought is there's interdimensional travel, that there are beings from somewhere that are capable of visiting this dimension that we exist in, but they exist in something, so they are here all the time. They're just here in a way that we have no ability to access them, but they can access us.
And time, and I've heard you say this, that's something we made up.
Right.
There's no such thing as time.
Right. This is the only time right now.
Yeah, and it's gone already.
Yep.
It was here, it's gone.
Right.
Now, you talk about, be nice.
What is this, Jamie?
Quick animation NASA made to give you a size, a reference, if you will.
Okay.
It starts with the middle thing is the sun, our sun. And I think these are different supermassive black holes.
Right.
They're small, obviously. I'm going to try to speed it up so it doesn't take too long. Let me go 2 speed. This is the orbit of Mercury. There's one there. It gets really big here really quick, though.
So these are other supermassive black holes that are just in our galaxy?
Yeah, there's the Milky Way. Asteroid belt just went away. Watch how it speeds up here. Here comes a big one outside of the solar system.
What the fuck?
Hold on. Bigger one. And wait for the big one.
Oh, my God.
So that one's just sitting out there. Ton 618.
Wow.
And I guess in theory, then, yeah, all of that times 2, or I don't know how big, is inside that. Like reverse? I don't know.
Yeah, go inside that, and you find another universe. Yeah. Which is weird that, like, the universe is so big we can't even wrap our head around it, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is not even a good way to describe it. It's a grain of sand.
Yep.
Maybe it's not even a grain of sand. Maybe it's an atom. Maybe it's not even an atom. Maybe it's a subatomic particle. And maybe the whole thing is fractal. So maybe what we are and what this planet is. I mean, I'm sure you've seen when they look at, have you ever seen the a map of the known universe in comparison to a neuron in the human brain? Mm-mm. See if you can find that. It's entirely possible that it's just constantly, if you constantly expand further and further out, that this entire universe is an atom. It's a part of a much larger organism that exists in another universe that is infinitely large, that is impossible for us to grasp our head around. So that's a brain cell, and that's galaxies. And when you look at that, I mean, goddamn, those things look the same. They look the same. Neural network and the cosmic web, they look the same. And if they are the same, if that is what a brain cell is, and that the entire universe is a part of the brain of an infinitely large individual that's a part of a civilization that also exists in another universe that's a part of an infinitely large being, that's a brain cell of that universe is a brain cell of that thing, and that it just keeps going and going and going and going. And even the idea of the Big Bang is just like, maybe not. Maybe it's always been here. Maybe it's just constant. And maybe it's God.
Some believe ancient civilizations witnessed weapons that sound eerily similar to modern nuclear blasts.
About the other day, they find whale bones in the Sahara Desert.
Yeah. I'm going to the Valley of the Whales in a few weeks in Egypt, actually. It's another, it's incredible that there's whale bones out there also. So we're going out there to the Valley of the Whales.
Whale bones.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But so the point being that this place has changed radically, like absolutely radically over time.
Yeah.
So who knows do you know why those things were covered up? Is it possible that it was just sand over time?
Well, if you look at the tablets again, they talk about this war, right? And this war that occurred, there's a lot of wars, obviously, but this one particular war, it seems like the same one that damaged the area or the region of the Giza Plateau, also Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley up there by Pakistan. And the reason why it's interesting is if you look at the war in the text and then go to those areas, it looks now almost you can begin to see, oh, wait a minute, it looks like war. Mohenjo-Daro in this valley, the buildings turned to glass. The sand turned to glass, and the bodies are still laying in the street right now today, holding hands, never been scavenged by animals. So
wait a minute, where is this?
Mohenjo-Daro.
Are there photos that we can look at?
Oh, yeah, look it up. Mohenjo-Daro in this valley, dead bodies still laying in the street thousands of years later. And
nobody they just lay there? No one's covered them up?
Nobody's covered them up. Yeah, when you put a Geiger counter over them, higher than background level radiation. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. And
aren't stones higher than background level radiation?
Some stones are. Some stones are, especially like diorite and crystal granite. But these bodies, these are just bones. How come they're higher than background level radiation?
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
Why haven't I ever heard of this?
Mohenjo-Daro, M-O-H-E-N. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is evidence of a nuclear war or nuclear type of a war.
Go back to the other, that one there. That one's insane.
Yeah. There's bodies that are sitting on the edge of steps next to their own buildings that they lived in. The building is turned to glass. That's 3,000 plus degree temperature weapons fire.
So there's a bunch of people that seem to die all at once, just scattered around?
Yeah.
Now, what's the conventional explanation for how these people died?
They have no idea. They have zero idea. The only thing that
was just a couple, Jamie. Go to the other, just the Mohenjo-Daro mythical massacre.
Yeah.
So did they think it's a massacre? Is there any? What if the guy's just laying there?
Just laying there. And that building, those stones are vitrified, which means 3,000 plus degree temperature.
Oh shit!
What kind of what could have caused that level of temperature? Energetic release.
Well, it could have been a low atmosphere asteroid.
It could have been.
I mean, just like
that's possible.
Tunguska.
Yeah, it could have been a lot, but then their bones would have been splattered apart and broken into pieces.
Good call. Yeah, that's good call. Yeah, because they don't seem to be broken apart.
No, they're not broken apart.
Right.
That impact would have shattered the bones and spread them out over a great distance.
But without impact, even if you just look at the one that burst in the atmosphere in Tunguska, it just flattened trees.
Flattened everything. All the trees.
I think it's some insane, like 1 million acres or something crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. So
how
those
big was
bodies
the Tunguska explosion? That one's, so those bodies would be toast because the trees were ripped apart.
The buildings would have been flattened.
The legs would have flown off.
Right.
There's no way they would just be laying there like that.
Exactly.
That's interesting. And they don't seem to be like chopped up.
No.
Did they have any evidence of stab wounds or anything on them?
They don't have any evidence of any injury, of any kind of attack or any cutting or like swords or anything.
They just all got cooked.
Right. And then in the tablets it says that the evil wind moved over the land after they released these weapons. And then Enki goes to his father. Enki goes to his father Anu and says, "Hey, can you stop the evil wind?" Because he had fallen in love with some people, and down there. And he's like, "There's nothing I can do." He said, "Get in your skyship and forebode." That means get the hell out of here. And he said the people's hair was falling out, their eyes were bleeding, their nose were bleeding, their fingernails were curling off. that sounds like radiation sickness.
So you think it's radiation sickness that did this to all these people, or was it an impact that did this to all these people?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
But, you know,
but they're not blown apart.
right? They're
That's
not
the
blown
thing.
apart. It seems like whatever struck, or whatever energetic weapon it was, if it could have been might not have been a weapon. Whatever it was, it seems like that shock wave reached them at some point, and whatever was in that wave,
Just killed everybody.
that's what it did. Yeah.
And they just don't know what it is. So how does a conventional archaeologist describe it? Do they just say it's a massacre?
They just call it a mythical massacre, and they stay away from it. When you look in the other texts, the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, you find out about these wars also. They're recorded. They have weapons called the Brahma Astra and the Brahmahanda weapon, and these weapons, what they describe them as doing, duplicate what you saw there.
How do they describe them?
They describe them as weapons that once released can't be revolted or can't be turned back, and that they will obliterate any area, any city. And they say that one of the weapons can destroy any man on 3 worlds. It's crazy stuff. And this is where Oppenheimer got his famous quote when he obviously tested the nuke, right? Now I have become death, destroyer of worlds. He got that from the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great quote.
Yeah.
To say after you detonate the first nuclear bomb.
Oh, man, crazy.
What a great quote.
Yeah.
So the idea is that there were beings that were having wars on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Were they? Do you believe they were having wars with people that were revolting, or were they having wars with other beings?
They were fighting with each other. And evidence of these wars can be found in the book of Deuteronomy in the modern day Bible. These gods, and I do mean gods with an S, because everywhere in the Bible where it says God singular, it's actually a mistranslation. The actual, if you backwards look up the translation in Arabic and then down to Aramaic and everything else, you find out it's gods plural. They were fighting each other over resources and people and control of the planet. And so that's why in the book of Deuteronomy, God tells people, go to this city, and it's like a far city away. They don't even know that these people exist. They go over there to kill them. He says, kill the women, kill the children, and bring the spoils of war back to me. And you see these wars in the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Sumerian tablets. And these wars are just nonstop, the Indian Vedas. And it's always about attacking another city. And they even talk about Trojan horse methods to get behind the gates and then to utilize that to attack and kill and bring back these spoils, which is pretty crazy stuff. It's like they were attacking each other. They had gone awry. They had gone rogue out here on this planet and then began to fight over people and populations and resources.
And we would hope that we would get past that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no evidence that we have so far.
JRE 1407. What if supervolcanoes and comet impacts nearly erased humanity before and could happen again?
Talk to enough people that are like they're really educated in the history of ancient cultures and ancient civilizations, and the evidence of natural disasters wiping people out and people having to start from scratch. It seems like we're a part of like this giant never-ending cycle of getting knocked back into the Stone Age and then rebuilding to a new version of complex society. I think we're on a version of that now, but I think there's been many versions of that. Yeah. And I think that that's also on the table for us.
But I think it'd be a lot easier for us to bounce back than someone 2,000 years ago with our technology and our ability to... No?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because when it hits, first of all, very few people survive and everything goes to shit. There's no electricity, no generators work, there's no one pumping oil. No one knows how to make a generator. No one knows how to make a cell phone. So all that technology is lost.
Well, the Jim Baker people do. Wait, so what would this be? Like a meteor? Other than a meteor hitting the Earth, what would cause this?
Super volcano would kill almost all of us. The Yellowstone super volcano, it's a caldera volcano. Like they didn't realize that it was so big until somewhere in like the 2000s, I think it was. They did satellite imagery and they realized, oh my God, that's the caldera of a volcano. Like this Yellowstone thing. We thought it was just this crazy place with hot springs. Like, no, that's a super volcano that is a continent killer. And it blows every 600,000 to 800,000 years. And everyone dies. Like, the whole fucking country dies. And it happens every 600,000 to 800,000 years. And the last time it happened was like 600,000 years
see, that's
ago.
another reason Texas should be its own country.
Well, we'll get hit. We'll get hit. We're all going to die. If that happens, we're fucked. Like, maybe people in New Zealand will live, and those folks will be the new people. You know, it's happened before. Was it the Toba? Was that what it was? Yeah, in Indonesia. There was a Toba volcano in Indonesia 70,000 years ago. They think knocked the human race down to a few thousand people.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. These things happen, man, and they happen with regularity. In terms of if you look at the timeline of the Earth, they happen all the time. It's just when. Is it going to happen now, or is it going to happen 1,000 years from now when we have enough technology to mitigate its effects in some way? But when it happens, you get nuclear winter. Everything dies. No crops. Nothing. The sun doesn't get through. The skies are filled with ash.
You can't live
There's no food.
You can't really live your life with concerned about something like that happening.
I'm not living my life with concern. I'm saying that's also on the table.
Sure.
So that's why I'm gray.
Okay.
Get it? Because I'm like, yeah, hopefully it's going to be great. You know, but maybe not. And for all of us, the end is going to suck.
I'm glad to hear you're more concerned, as I am, if I had to choose between natural disaster or we're all going to end up killing each other.
I'm concerned with both, but I'm always concerned with things that people are dismissive of or that they don't think of as a threat, because that's when they hit you. When something people lived in Pompeii, they're like, that volcano, don't worry about it. We're good.
Until you have to worry about it.
Until, they just didn't understand. Like, you're in a terrible spot to put a city. Like, if that thing goes, and it goes all the time, it just doesn't go within your lifetime, so you don't understand. Like, you're dealing with an ant's timeline. You know, an ant to us, an ant lives a fucking few days.
Right.
They're gone. We live 100 years if we're lucky. Volcanoes are hundreds of thousands of years of activity. And they go on these long cycles, some of them, these super volcanoes, and they just fucking blow, and you never know when it's going to happen. And they create fucking islands in the middle of the ocean. That's what Hawaii is.
Yeah.
It's a fucking volcano that's sprung out of the ocean. And now you go vacation there and put fucking suntan lotion on and sit out there and have margaritas. You're on a volcano. You're on the creative and destructive force of the earth, the thing that makes mountains, and you're camping out on it. And that's our life. That's the reality of living on Earth. This is not stable. That's why all these nutty people that are talking about climate change is going to kill us, and it's going to kill us. It's not good. It's not good that we're polluting. It's not good that we're having a net negative effect on the atmosphere. But also, there's so many other things to be concerned with. We have zero solution to supervolcanoes. We have zero solution to asteroid impacts. We have zero solution to things that have wiped out. We know they killed off the dinosaurs.
Right.
We know that. We know it. We're for 100%. They fucking find the crater in the Yucatan. They find craters all over the place. They found a big one in Greenland or
Isn't
in
there
Iceland.
one in Siberia or somewhere?
Oh yeah, the Tunguska one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
That's the one that they think happened during the time where Earth passes through this meteor shower. There was a comet shower. How do they refer to it? But I think it's every every November and every June we pass through this thing. And most of the time, it just gives you meteor showers in the sky. You see, people get excited about that. You can kind of predict when that happens. Well, that's why they know that it's going to happen, because it happens during these times we go through this meteor shower. They think that is what happened in Tunguska in the early 1900s, because it happened during that timeline. So whatever this thing was, it didn't even make impact with the ground. It detonated in the sky, and it killed like a million acres or some crazy shit of trees. How much did I know I exaggerated that number? How much did I think I did? How much did Tunguska destroy?
No, but it was like some kind of crazy bomb equivalent.
A bomb. Yeah. Well, that's what they think happened to Earth around 11,800 years ago. That's the Younger Dryas impact theory. It's during the same timeline. 12 megaton explosion. Jeez Louise.
Holy shit, look at that picture.
And to this day, there's no trees there.
Seriously?
Yes, to this day.
Why?
Because it's fucking nuked. I don't know,
no,
man.
But is it radioactive? Like literally?
It just blew it out, man. I don't know. It just blew out whatever fucking it did to that area. That soil sucks.
Holy crap.
Isn't that crazy?
1908, that wasn't that long ago.
So they think that's also what happened at the end of the Ice Age. They think that the Earth and North America's ice caps got smashed by comets. And that's what caused the Great Lakes, and that's what caused this mass erosion, topographical details in the Earth that lead out to the ocean, like these enormous fucking floods. And that's probably Noah's Ark flood. That's probably, and it probably knocked human beings back into the fucking Stone Age again. So our idea of civilization propping up or emerging around 6,000 years ago, which they used to think, these guys are saying it's probably way earlier than that.
Oh, it's just
probably
a cycle,
20,000
and then
years.
reboots.
Yeah, and that explains the pyramids.
What if one day technology could read your thoughts before you act and stop you before you even do anything wrong?
I have a lot of
Not
bad
that far.
thoughts, Joe.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do when you're on those morning shows. Imagine if you could get arrested for your thoughts. Like, because I think some things that I would never do.
You got to erase your browser mind thoughts too.
Yeah.
Like
Could you
erase your
imagine-
history.
Could you imagine if you had an impulse to just smash someone in the face, but you were resisting it? You weren't going to do it.
Are you a good person if you're resisting it constantly?
It depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
If you're the asshole all the time, if you're constantly getting in fights with people, it might be you. But
We all know that person who's like, this fucking asshole. I'm like, everyone's an asshole in your stories.
But there's also times when some people need to be smacked. And there's in those moments, like, imagine if you could get arrested because you tested positive for a potential aggressive episode. Right?
It's like a COVID test.
Like
you get 2 lines.
You're keeping your
Yeah.
shit together, but you're imagining just teeing off on this guy, just smashing this
He
dude.
could be a danger.
Yeah, like, hey man,
Yeah.
stop doing it. But if you have that thought, I'm about to smash that guy. Dee, 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 dee. A light goes off. The cops come in and they arrest you. And they
Yeah.
arrest you because you had a potentially violent episode. You
You're-
hit red line.
Your red
Sam.
flag.
Sam, this is a serious thing. You
Yeah.
went to red line. But I didn't do anything. But you might have.
Yeah.
Or they'll tell you were going to. We know. We have predictive technology here in
Predictive
Westworld.
technology. Well, like, or yeah, that movie Minority Report.
Yes. That seemed so impossible.
Predicting murders.
Now it's like the World Economic Forum guy was saying that they won't have to have elections in the future.
Wow.
We will be able to predict with such precision that we don't
Save a
need
lot of money, though.
elections.
Did you see this story going
What?
around?
British
Kid-
man acquitted over London, Spain flight bomb hoax.
He texted and Snapchat to his friends, "I'm on the way to blow up the plane. I'm a member of the Taliban." Then
Oh my God.
the Spanish,
As-
Oh my
as a joke?
God.
as a joke, he said to joke to his friends.
That's a
and then
good
two
bit.
Spanish F-18s were scrambled to.
Look how close the F-18 is
Yeah,
to that other jet's
very
wing.
close.
That's insane.
He was just acquitted, though, because the judge was like, there's obviously no threat here. But what was curious is how the message was found, because Snapchat's supposed to be encrypted. And some people think it's because of the Wi-Fi network at the airport. And the airport says that's not how it was. And then the UK authorities said, where was it right here?
So is this evidence of some new technology?
That I mean, as you guys were saying this stuff, that's why I brought it up.
Do you think that's what they're... What are you interpreting this as?
They said that they have, there it is. For unknown reasons, it was captured by the security mechanisms of England when the plane was flying over French airspace.
Yo.
Wow.
Yo, that's crazy. The message was made in a strictly private environment between the accused and his friends with whom he flew through a private group to which only they have access. So the accused could not even remotely assume that the joke he played on his friends could be intercepted or detected by British services, nor by third parties other than his friends who received the message. See, that's crazy because, like, sometimes you'll say wild shit to your friends in a text message
Yeah.
for fun, you know, and you're assuming, if I send you an iMessage, you're assuming that that's encrypted.
Yeah, I'm going to stop telling my friends I'm going to murder my girlfriend.
You have to use
Gotta be
Signal.
careful.
You have to use
Yeah.
Signal for that.
Today's the day. I'll say that.
But I bet if you'd have
That's
used Signal,
safer.
I bet they're looking through Signal too. I bet there is a scanning that's being done on all cell phone communication, looking for key target words that they think would be problematic.
Well, think about how much of our freedom we're constantly giving away.
Yeah.
When I fly, I don't want to wait in a long line. So I give them, my iris, my fingerprint, all that stuff. Now
Yeah.
those lines are longer than the other lines. right? So I'm
Are
like,
they?
oh yeah. If I go to LaGuardia, fucking pre-check and clear are the longest lines now.
No shit.
Yeah. So
So sometimes you just fuck it and you go through
I
the
just
other
go,
one?
yeah, I take my shoes off again. I'm going backward, but then there's going to probably be a new line. You got to give more. You dip your balls in the fucking thing. You got to give them the outline of your penis. I gave you my penis. You got to let me cut.
Well, you have to have the update and the chip. Do you have your update? You can fly if you have your update.
Did you update your
brain?
dick?
Did you update
We only
your
have your
brain?
flaccid penis. We need a hard penis.
If you have the brain chip, we'll let you pass through. You don't ever have to worry about identification ever again.
I thought of a new wrinkle for that. They can let you update right there at the airport with some janky terminal that's probably hacked, or you could do it at home like everybody else will probably be doing it. Like when you update.
Yep.
Update from a safe place.
Update from a
But
safe
you forgot,
place.
or you have to do it here, like it's like a subway terminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll get to the point where you'll just have an account in your head and you won't have to pay for anything with a credit card ever again. It'll all be an account in your head, but only through central bank digital currency. If you subscribe to central bank digital currency, we can iron out all the inequality and all the problems of society today.
They'll get us.
They'll get us. They're going to get us with a chip in our head. It's going to be awesome. That's the problem. You're going to put that chip in and you go, God, why was I resisting this? I was so stupid just 20 minutes ago. Like,
Yeah.
now I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you imagine, like, you can only imagine being as intelligent as you are on your best or worst days. But could you imagine being like a caveman, like a Australopithecus, like the early days, just barbaric life, covered in hair.
Yeah.
And then somebody gives you something, just a little shot or something, and all of a sudden you can think like you. You'd be like, whoa, I didn't realize how fucking dumb I was. I think
Yeah.
we're going to plug in, and it's going to be so, whoa, oh my God, this is so much better. This is so much better. This is so much better than regular brains. We're just going to accept the fact that we have access to information constantly. You're seeing it all in your head.
That's just Adderall right now, I think.
Well, it's probably going to be better than Adderall.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be better if you could have something that stimulates various parts of your brain to produce certain neurochemicals, if that's possible. They're going to be able to do something where people that are paralyzed can use cursors. They can like use their brain to figure out how to navigate computers.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty. But again, it's intrusive, right? I mean, it's your thoughts.
Right, but if you're a paralyzed person, it's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's way better to be able to do that than not.
That's true.
But once we start doing it too,
Yeah.
Sam, I know you're not paralyzed, but let me tell you the benefits of linking up. And you just start talking to your girlfriend.
It's gonna be like Jehovah's Witnesses. They're gonna be
thinking
banging on
about
your
linking
door.
up. I mean,
Yeah.
my cousin linked up. He's never felt better. He signed a 1-year lease. You link up for 1 year. You can't disconnect or they kill you.
It'll be like Ozempic. You give the linked up people like a year to see how they do, and then you're like, I might link up.
No, it'd be like military service. Like, you have to, if you're going to link up, you have to link up. You have to commit to 1 year because you're contributing to the grid.
Yeah.
You're contributing to the grid of ideas if you link up. So you have to keep it on for 1 year. And most people don't take it off. And if you do take it off, the parts where they screw it in get infected.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get a re-up.
You look weird. You're like one of those weird people that just disconnected. We're so close to something like
JRE number 1443. From mysterious bloom boxes to lost electric car technology, were breakthroughs in clean energy intentionally buried?
Do you remember the bloom boxes?
no.
Really?
What is it?
Man, I've been thinking about them lately. I remember seeing them on 60 Minutes years ago, and I think Google headquarters was powered by one.
What is
there
it?
were these funky little black boxes that had some chemical process of creating energy, and they were like early on massive news promising tech, and they're super groovy little simple boxes. And they originally did it for like campuses and military, like large installations for, multiple complexes and stuff.
How'd they work?
But then they were also making them for automotive, and they had a prototype. I was so excited. I don't remember. It's been years, but it was some sort of, I think it was a ionic transfer process that went through a series of elements within the shielded box to create the energy, but they were like self-sustaining and super groovy. It's called a bloom box.
Anything?
Literally, it's just a big black box. Doesn't.
What's in there?
And I don't know what
Jump to the
happened
next
with
part.
them. They went belly up, or someone
There it is.
selling them. Yeah.
So that 60 Minutes. So that was powering Google at one point in time.
Yeah,
Those things.
yeah,
And what's
yeah.
inside?
And I think Stanford was getting into it. I don't know. Major mental flashback for me, even that I'm remembering it. It's just one of those things that seemed so promising that then went bye-bye. Same with like toroidal engines. There was a great engineer up in Lodi that was revisiting toroidals, and he had a Ford Focus that would do is like his daughter's old car with a blown up motor. He had his own toroidal motor that he had developed that could run from the energy in the charged particles in the air.
What?
This thing did like 15 miles an hour on a flat test track, running on air.
Charged particles in the air.
Yes.
So
Ionically charged
conceivably,
particles
as
in
the
the air.
technology improved, that 15 miles an hour could be a real speed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that same guy, I saw him once at a trade show, and I was exhibiting at the show as well. So I was there on setup day. I was bored out of my gourd. I was already set up in the Ford booth. So I'm just walking around, sort of sniffing around. I see this trippy scientist guy in his lab coat in this shitty little booth. That was like, 6 by 10 foot booth. And, at a show where people have like 200 by 60 foot booths. And he's got this odd little toroidal thing and then a bigger toroidal thing and literally like a chalkboard. So I'm like, dude, what's going on? So I started talking to him about it. He starts explaining the technology and what he was doing. And like the smaller one had 300 foot-pounds of torque. The larger one had 2,000. And he was looking to develop it for rail cars, for semis, for cars, like, and on and on and on. He's like, yeah, the biggest problem is stopping it once it gets going. Because the toroidal structure meant that the compression cycle from, 12 to 2 of that first cylinder was such that when the combustion occurred and it propelled the next piston into the next combustion cycle and kept going. So getting that power out of a central crank was a challenge, and then how to stop the damn thing was like the bigger challenge. But they'd run on like horse piss, ionic charged particles, diesel, gas, like they didn't even need spark plugs. So I'm like blown away by this. I go back the next day, poof, where'd he go? Booth's gone, empty, done. And I had the guy's info, and I tried to reach out to him. Website gone. A website I'd looked at the night before, gone. Got gobbled up. 5 years later, I see him again at another trade show with another kick-ass design. And man, was he a bitter man. He's like, yeah, never again. Because they bought it and they shelved it. I'm never selling anything again. Fuck them. I'm licensing to specific channels of applications, and that's it. His new product...
So what do you think happened if you're a conspiracy theorist? Do you think someone bought him out and just
I'm a small independent business owner realist in that, hell yes, someone didn't like that and they shelved that shit.
So they bought it and then just shelved it?
Yep.
Wow.
So his next product...
Who did that?
I don't know. And he was very cagey about it. Then he had another product where you would replace the alternator in your car with a generator, and you had a small battery in the vehicle, right? So this is a retrofit system. The retail model was brilliant because you'd have like a pretty cheesy and expensive 3-axis mill, a shit ton of CAD files, and one product on the shelf. So in a lightweight car, it was like an electric supercharger. So you'd replace your alternator and it had a toothed cog for the pulley, and then your crank pulley would add a toothed cog to it and then toothed belt. So the idea was it would assist the internal combustion engine through its compression cycle. It would negate the parasitic load of all the Fiat, all the front engine accessory drive mounted things, your alternator, smog pump, or whatever, by pushing the engine through the cycle with the captured electrical energy from the deceleration.
Whoa.
And then in bigger cars, it gave you like pass assist and range increase, and it did great things for MPG. And then the story I got on that one was BMW put them under a big...
Some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe is a time capsule from a forgotten Ice Age civilization. Who built it, and why bury it?
Jericho in the Jordan Valley is absolutely intriguing. There's a massive tower there, which again dates back right to the end of the last Ice Age. A huge megalithic tower with the world's oldest known megalithic stairway that runs up inside it. So what's emerging as a result, if Göbekli Tepe hadn't been found, none of this would have happened. But it's led to a widespread interest in the whole area. So while excavation may have stopped at Göbekli Tepe or may have slowed down, it is continuing elsewhere across the region. And to be fair to archaeologists, we need to recognize that.
Is the size and scale of Göbekli Tepe unique in
Yes.
comparison to the ones that are around it?
Yes. So far, the ones that have been found, Göbekli Tepe is unique. And I think it's clear now that Göbekli Tepe itself was the end of a process, not the beginning of a process. It was something that marked, it was a marker. It was something that brought together the best of everything that they'd accumulated and created it in one place and left it there, finally at the end burying it, sealing it as a time capsule, which then was untouched for more than 10,000 years before Klaus Schmidt opened it up in 1996. I can't help feeling that's precisely what Göbekli Tepe is. It's a time capsule. It's a memorial to a lost time. And I think that what we're looking at in that whole area is the outcome of contact with an earlier, largely lost civilization. I think it passed on its cultural genes right there in that area of Turkey and down into the Jordan Valley and Cyprus. And not only there, also the Indus Valley civilization. It's incredible iconography which shows a man between two felines. It's a very striking image. You see a man and two tigers or leopards on either side of him, and he may be holding them apart, he may be gripping them in some way.
What is this so Jamie can find it?
You can find it on the Gebel al-Arak knife handle from Egypt. You can find it from Sayburk, Sayburk, in Turkey, the man between two felines, and you can find it in the Indus Valley civilization right across in Pakistan on these steatite seals that they used to make, where again you see that same icon of the man between two felines. And it suggests that cultural ideas way back in the remote past were being spread around the world very, very rapidly.
Find anything there, Jamie?
I can tell you the...
So how much of that area where Göbekli Tepe has been searched with LiDAR? Here it is. Here's the images. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, there we are. That's Harappa. That's from the Indus Valley civilization, man between two felines.
What do you think that supposedly represents?
Nobody knows what it represents, but what's intriguing is that it turns up in so many different places. But I'd like to find just give me 1 second just to find something. I hope I'm online here. I am.
How many of the areas have been searched with LiDAR?
Hang on, Joe. Bear with me. Just
No
one-
worries,
one-
no worries.
1 minute. This is where I have to take my bloody glasses off.
You got to go back and forth?
Yeah.
You looked at that. I'll show you that. Karen Tepe has some cool stuff that I don't think we've seen before.
Whoa.
There's this huge skeletal figure. This one, 12 feet high or something like that. Extraordinary.
Kind of similar to the Easter Island heads.
What's going on down there?
His hog. What do you think it is? How weird are those structures? Yeah. You know, but like the way their hands are placed, it's kind of similar to the way the Easter Island hands are placed.
Jamie, could I get plugged into the HDMI?
Sure. Do you need to?
Yeah.
Okay, pause, please. We'll pause. We'll be right back.
Good.
All right, we're back.
We're back. Okay, we found these images so this is from Jamie. Maybe you could expand that the Cyborg relief.
I think you have to do it.
Okay, it's on my.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is about 10,000 years old. It's from a site in the area of Göbekli Tepe called Sayburk, and it's gone.
There it is.
And it's clearly a man between two felines. And interestingly, he's holding his dick, exactly like that piece that you just showed from Karahan Tepe. And then if we go on. I don't understand what I'm doing with this thing. There it is. So then the Indus Valley, again.
Yeah, I'm controlling what's on the screen.
You are. Okay, so there's the man between two felines. Again, expand that.
So that particular image, is there any sort of a theory as to what they were what that represented?
Human mastery of animals is the only one I've heard that's being suggested.
But it seems like they're trying to get them.
Well, it does in that case, rather than or that he's holding them
Right.
he's holding them at bay,
Keeping them from getting each other.
yeah. And then if you go down to the Egyptian one, which is the Gebel el-Arak knife handle, there it is. That's from ancient
Same
Egypt,
thing.
pre-dynastic Egypt, same thing. Wow. And then the next one is from Tiwanaku in Bolivia. That's a redrawing from Tiwanaku in Bolivia, and again, it's a man between two felines.
Wow.
So when I see this kind of complicated image turning up all around the world, I can't help feeling that there's a remote common source, which is sharing. It's not each culture representing or influencing the other. It's a remote common source that they all share.
What's the last one from where's it from again?
From Tiwanaku in Bolivia.
Look, what do you think he's got in his hands?
Well, it looks like two felines that he's holding apart. Too.
Right, but what are those things that are dangling down?
I absolutely have no idea, and I'm not sure if anybody else does, although I'm reminded in that one of the handbags that we see in some of the figures from ancient Sumer.
Right, but what is the thing on the left?
Again, I don't know, and I don't think anybody
Very
does.
strange. And what are the? Why does he have steps on his chest and a wheel? Like, what is that? You know, what is that? What is that spiral in the center of his body?
It's a spiral of mystery. I honestly don't know the answer to
Bizarre,
that question.
because, like, look, there's a geometric pattern,
You
and
see-
it goes up and down with the steps, and it
Yes.
repeats on both corners. That one where it steps up, and the other side where it steps down.
Yeah.
Very strange.
It would be nice if there were written records from Tiwanaku,
Wouldn't that
which
be
told us
sweet?
what it was about, but unfortunately there aren't.
Just very, very bizarre.
So what I'm saying is we're seeing a sudden emergence of something that is being recognized as a civilization in Turkey just immediately after Göbekli Tepe, around the time of Göbekli Tepe. And we're seeing it in the Jordan Valley, and we're seeing it in the Indus Valley, and we're seeing it in South America as well. The same iconography keeps on repeating, and I don't think it's a coincidence.
JRE number 2243. Some researchers suggest quantum computers may be pulling answers from parallel universes. Is that even possible?
Well, one of the things that I've talked to about with some pretty insanely brilliant people is quantum computing.
Oh, yes.
And this new Google quantum computer that can do essentially the way a quantum computer works, a problem that would take thousands of years
Yeah.
for every computer on Earth
Yeah, I
to
saw that.
solve.
I've read that,
It can
yeah.
solve in a second.
Yeah.
Something that can take more years than you literally can understand. It could be solved in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I read that.
It's insane. And this is where it gets really weird. The way it was explained to me, and we should have to Google how quantum computers work and why people connect them to the multiverse so I don't fuck this up. But the idea is that they're pulling answers from different universes simultaneously. They don't even completely understand how this is working. But the amount of power in computing is incomprehensible. Incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Like you're only looking at it and there's numbers, you could write all those numbers out, but your brain's not capable of grasping really what's going on. And it's probably the biggest breakthrough technologically in human history by a long stretch. And it's all happening without most people even being aware of what the implications are. So see if you can Google an explanation of how quantum computers work.
Trying to,
Was it
but-
Mark Andreessen that was explaining to us that it's pulling from different universes?
No, that is
Who was that?
being talked about in the wording of the Willow description.
Right.
But I also, just to add, when I was reading about this, they said that these benchmark numbers are coming off of Google's own data. Like they're the ones that set like the scale of what some of the quantum.
Are you
numbers
skeptical? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just
Are you
no
calling bullshit on Google?
No, not at all. Not at
I
all.
feel
Not
like
at
he
all.
is.
No. I'm
feel
just
like
a
you
grain
are.
of salt. Like just to say that, like I think they used tillions is the
Yeah,
number or something like that.
septillion.
See, that no one even can grasp that.
Yeah.
That's just based, but that's a number based off of their formula too.
Right.
That's all.
Right. What is the definition of how it works? The way it pulls from multi universes.
I think I'm trying to find it, but I think the understanding I got from it was it's just too powerful to get from our universe alone. You'd have to have more than one, and I don't like. That's just
Like, what does that
But
mean?
I don't-
how
that's
do
what I don't
they
understand.
even?
Exactly.
Get
What
to
does that mean? Right.
understanding.
What is that thing that they have? And if you ever seen the chip itself is very small.
Yeah.
It's like the size of a saltine cracker.
Yeah.
And then this entire mechanism around it is just the insane amount of cooling. Okay. Google's quantum AI founder said the performance gains lends credence to the idea that we live in a multiverse. The idea is that Willow might be communicating with parallel universes to finish calculations faster. Like, what does that mean? The announcement led Google's already high stock price to surge, which isn't that shocking, but perhaps most surprising for us laypeople that Google's quantum AI founder and lead, Harmut Nevin, said that the chip's performance lends credence to the notion that quantum computation occurs in many parallel universes, in line with the idea that we live in a multiverse. And then it says, excuse me? This obviously has caused a bit of a stir and it isn't exactly clear on how he made that leap. It sounds a bit like something out of a sci-fi movie, and I'm definitely not going to pretend I'm an expert, but it's worth pointing out that Google is very much still in the theoretical research phase of this journey. This is very weird stuff. An evolving scientific field that even people working on it don't fully understand.
3 hours later.
Okay, so this is what it is. One of the world's most advanced classical computers. Okay, here it is with this problem. So AI's founder and lead, Hartmut Nevin, said that the new chip had performed a purposefully complicated exercise called a random circuit sampling benchmark in 5 minutes. One of the world's most advanced classical supercomputers, on the other hand, it would take 10 and then 3 zeros, 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 3 zeros. Years to perform the same exercise. That's 10 septillion years, which exceeds known time scales in physics and vastly exceeds the age of the universe. So it can do more time than vastly exceeds the entire age of the universe, and it can do it in 5 minutes. And the reason it could achieve such a monumental improvement in calculating capacity is because Willow is made up of 105 qubits and can track the potential of each of those at once, allowing it to record potential data much faster and come to the right answer sooner. So, like, what is happening?
That's too much information.
What do you mean?
I get it, but I don't get it.
I don't get, how does that prove the multiverse or provide evidence that the multiverse is real, like, and that it's getting it from parallel universes? Like, what are we even saying here?
But it couldn't come up with those answers within the allotted time span. That's
what?
I can't even explain. I mean, funnily enough, this is that my brother's into all of this stuff. Sean, he's
in simpler language.
He would probably be able to explain it to you, Sean.
Probably.
He's like
well, he would give it a shot.
He would, certainly.
I think he was the one that was probably explaining it to us. In simpler language, Willow is doing one calculation while an unknown number of Willows in other universes parallel to our own are doing their own calculations, and they are sharing that data to avoid needing to individually do every possible calculation to finish the equation. What the fuck does that mean? How are they sharing data between universes? I don't know. Ask Nevin. Remember, this is all theoretical and doesn't prove anything, but Nevin is saying that the fact that the chip can outperform our best supercomputers by such a wide margin means that it might have broken Newton's theory of physics. Yo, what does it say under that, Jamie?
What does this mean for me?
Keep that going. Put that back on. Scroll up a little bit.
It's right here.
Okay, this is what I wanted to look at. At this point, it's an exciting look at what computing might take one day, but it isn't something you're going to see in your next Pixel phone. Quantum chips need to be isolated in incredibly specific chambers. Yeah, this is the thing. It's cooler than, it has to be cool to a point where it's colder than outer space, sealed away from any possible signals such as microwaves, radiation, radio signals, etc., for fear of that noise leading to potential mistakes, and have specific signals delivered by purpose-built wires. Who figured this out? Where are those eggheads? Jesus
How did
Christ.
they even come up with that, if that has to be the case?
I don't.
How did they figure out that you have to do that? All of it.
It's just brain damage.
That's one of the most humbling things that I've found about doing this podcast is realizing how genuinely dumb we are in comparison to the amount of information that's available.
No question.
What if the future won't feel like a prison, but we're already inside one?
What we have to realize is that we're Americans. You know, we're deeply selfish monsters that have been bred to destroy all life on Earth. We have to not lose sight of that message. We're here to fuck things up for everyone else, not each other. And that's what we had in the 80s and the 90s. We had a commitment to apathy while our leaders ran around pillaging the earth. And we made great movies and great art, and it was fine. Yes, people got killed, but people always get killed. But now we're at war with each other. We should just be enjoying the spoils of the end of the empire. Truly. You should be enjoying it. So many people got killed, murdered, tortured, maimed for us to have all the nice things we have. Do you know how insane it is to not enjoy it? You know how crazy it is to not enjoy a McMansion, a flat screen TV, a McFlurry? You know how much blood is in the street for those things? And people act like they don't even matter. And they're fighting about all this bullshit. It's crazy. Anyway, that's the truth. That's the real truth. Nobody wants to hear it, but that is the truth. We have a lot of these things are nice, but some of them are ill-gotten gains. Fine. You know, not everybody picking tomatoes is happy about it. But have you ever had a nice Jersey thick beefsteak tomato? It's good. Imagine having one and then fighting with someone about something. It's stupid. If there's a hell, we're all going. And if there's not, we get reincarnated when we're Beatles or something. But just enjoy it. And nobody wants to enjoy it. And that's what makes me upset. Is that we used to have a country built on enjoyment, built on fat, stupid people enjoying the work of a small group of demons. And now we can't even enjoy it. Can't even have fun.
That would be the only way to get us out of this.
That's right.
If we ever realize that the problems that we have with issues are far smaller than the problems the issues that we agree on. Like everybody agrees we have to have less crime. Everybody agrees that we have to have more education. Everybody agrees that we have to have safer streets and safer cities. Everybody agrees that.
That's right.
And the things that we disagree on, people disagree on like how to make those things a reality though. Yeah. How do you have less crime? Is it by letting
it's also
people out of jail?
Us being divided helps. It helps people who want to just continually operate in the system as it's constructed. And whether that is the system of perpetual war or the system of the banking sector, the dominance of the financial sector, or the system is tech companies set up to have these political relationships, how they're presently constituted. People who are thriving in this system and using it to their ends do not want it changed. And people hating each other helps them.
It definitely does. Do you think that that's just human nature?
Yes.
And you're just doing it while this is happening? Or do you think it's orchestrated? This is the question, right? Is the dissent and is some of it, we know it's manipulated by other countries.
Yes.
We know that China does it. We know that they have these huge Russian organizations that in their troll farms.
Yeah.
You know, we know that that's going on. The idea that we wouldn't do that to ourselves if we were trying to get people riled up about each other.
To an extent, it's probably an inherent flaw in democracy, but I'm glad I lived in one, and I'm glad I lived in the time I did. But I do think, you know, a democracy kind of descends probably into an oligarchy eventually. The vast majority of the citizens go, I don't want the responsibility of citizenship. So a few really highly motivated psychopaths go, we'll handle it. We'll take it from here. And then those people are fighting over their own interests constantly.
Do you think it should be illegal to pretend to represent a human being when you're a corporation that is promoting your own needs? So do you think that like a corporation that hires, whether it's a foreign corporation, let's say it's a foreign one so it's not connected to us, that hires a company to propagandize about a specific political issue that's going to be a hot button target, and they do it as a bunch of people that attack people and go after people with dissenting opinions and quote tweet them and attack them, and you find out it's not even a real person.
Right.
That should be illegal. That seems to me like If we're allowing that in this country,
Oh yeah, but we'll continue to allow anyone with enough money.
right, but don't you think
Yeah.
that thing right there, just that's insidious. Like
Yes.
pretending you're a person for a specific propaganda and having it like 1,000 accounts and
Yeah.
you're running it through computers and you've got people that
Yeah.
are responding to things. You got
Yeah.
people that are just retweeting things and posting things, and it's all just
It's
propaganda.
insane that the Congress, the Congress members who went and started trading stocks based on the knowledge of how bad coronavirus was still have jobs, right? All of this is kind of insane. We're just at peak insanity here. And there's, I mean,
Are we at the peak?
I don't know if we're at the peak, but we're close to it. Like I do believe with the way things are going, and you're looking at some really crazy trends, and I don't know when they come to a conclusion, and if they do, without something, a war or some violent or whatever. But like it is just, we're living in a time now where we all know everything's fucked, but we're mostly powerless to change it. And that's when societies start to decay past a point, and everybody just kind of sits back and watches it like a show, and it just descends into eventually something that becomes more and more unmanageable. And then either a strongman dictator type comes in, or there's some massive war that resets things, or there's some natural disaster. But it feels like we're kind of at that point, That's why I'm glad we lived in the era that we lived. And we really should just be happy. We should be really happy. We should go, it's nice that we got the run we did, because it's not getting better. I mean,
Here's what's interesting.
or maybe it will, and God bless.
When I was a kid, I remember reading about like the fall of the Roman Empire
Yeah.
and the fall of the Greek Empire, and then I was thinking about America.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this thing gonna go away someday?
Right.
Is that possible? Is it possible that this is just one? I mean, we want to think it's fucking permanent, but I bet the people of Rome felt the same way.
Of course they did.
This is how it is. This is how I live
No,
every day. This
yeah.
is not going to change.
Right.
And Russians know.
They know.
They know.
Their
know
society's
it.
collapsed.
They've been through it.
Our society will go down. Nothing will ever be funnier. America will come apart in one of the funniest ways. All of these people, these grifters, everybody circling the wagons, the Caitlyn Jenners, the Donald Trumps. It'll be funny till you'll die laughing. Literally, you'll die, but you will be laughing. It will be the most absurd and insane thing. It will be out of a fucking dystopian horror movie, and no, it won't be funnier than America, because we're a crazy country, full of crazy people, and everybody's just trying to suck the last few dollars out of this bloated pig corpse of an empire before the end. And I'm no different. Watch my special and subscribe to my pod. What am I going to fucking sit here? What am I going to go preach on a fucking mountain? We got to make a little money here. But make no mistake, I mean, if I'm wrong, and I'd love to be wrong, but if your attitude or your idea is that the population's going to get smarter, healthier, and more adept at problem solving, you're on fucking crack.
Oh, yeah, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah.
But what happens next? Like, do you think we ever descend into some sort of like CCP controlled world, like that kind of totalitarian government? Do you think it's possible that through technology and just through people just falling apart, getting losing their fucking minds, thinking it's the right thing to do?
I think what happens next is we'll just have, these giant oscillating swings between right and left. And then I think, eventually it'll get to a point where large areas in the country are unlivable for a myriad of reasons, perhaps crime or homelessness, climate, whatever. Very well off or well connected people will have these kind of enclaves this is already happening. And then there'll be, a fight to be in one of those two groups. And then eventually a dictator, a strong man, somewhere down the line, some man or woman will come in and go, this system's fucked. I am going to run things. And they will run things in a way, and it probably won't be for the best, but like the system will collapse. But I don't know if we'll see it, but it will collapse. There's no way it doesn't. It will collapse to a degree. And someone will come in and go, yeah, these elections are all fake and it doesn't matter anyway. Why do you fuckers need to vote? Here's a coupon for a chicken sandwich. And people go, I like chicken. And then, you know, people just go, fuck it. They don't care. And then you go, there'll be Netflix and there'll be Domino's and you'll sit in your house and they'll say, well, you can't drive today because of the climate. And people go, yeah, it's Tuesday. Can't get in my car because of climate. And you'll sit there and they'll feed you poison and you'll watch TV. And a few people will riot, but very few, because most people will be pacified by the goodies, which they'll still probably have. And, you know, the leader will come on and tell, like, well, they'll be like, hello, everyone. And you'll go, hey, there. And it'll be a celebrity. It'll be someone you know. It'll be someone you're very familiar with, and they'll say a couple of things and be like, it's not that bad, is it? And they go, no, it's not that bad. And they'll feed you the propaganda, and you won't remember when you were free, and you won't remember. And most people will be fine with that, but me and you will be dead. And it won't matter. You know, and we'll have experienced the best of it. We'll remember when you could get in a car without a tracking device. We'll remember when you didn't have a fucking tracking device attached to you at all times. We'll remember when you could say what the fuck you want, alienate people, piss them off, and no one really cared and it didn't matter because you could wake up the next day and say, sorry, I was drunk and it wasn't on fucking Twitter. People didn't have a record of what you did and what you said and where you were and who you fucked and everything else. We will remember true freedom. We're one of the last groups of people to actually be free. And we should all thank God for that, because the hellscape that's about to be created is going to be so bad, they won't even know how bad it is. It won't even feel like they're in prison. Because those offices we talked about, people, they get to like them. Oh, there's creamer today. French vanilla. It's your favorite. Ugh. It's coming. It's coming, and it's going to be so bad it won't even feel bad. But we'll be like, shit. Remember when you could do all those things you can't do anymore. But, you know, and there'll be a few people that remember it, and then they'll take all those books about that shit and burn the fuck out of them. They'll go, well, those aren't good. Racism, homophobia, it's not burn. And people will forget when you were free, and they will just kind of create a society based on goodies, little rewards, and the addiction to celebrity, where our leaders will all be celebrities who will tell you on closed circuit television how good things are going. And you'll go, good, thanks. That's what's going to happen.
That was one of the best rants I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Well, that was fantastic. I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong, or if I'm right, I just hope that I'm dead, or I get to be one of the people who's keeping everyone else in the cage.
JRE 2160. Ancient texts suggest humans may have been engineered for a hidden purpose. Is it possible?
This is a good way to segue into like what you do, and because these subjects, so many of these subjects, so many people have like an instantaneous reaction.
Yeah.
And that instantaneous reaction is, oh, hogwash.
Yeah.
If this was true, I would already know about it. It would be taught in universities.
Yep.
It would all be. But then you find out, like, no one is really just kind of trying to piece stuff together, specifically talking about these ancient tablets, which are, to me, some of the most interesting things about ancient history, particularly what came out of ancient Sumer.
Yeah.
Ancient Sumer, when you look at their tablets and, like, what are they saying? And why would they dedicate so much time to talking about this stuff?
Exactly.
Why do they have pictures of giant enormous people looking things with like a humanoid with a tail sitting on their lap? Like, what is this, just fiction?
Yeah.
Like, why would they detail this, and how do they have a representation of the solar system with the correct amount of planets and relatively the correct order and size? You know, it's not exact, but it's an artistic version of the real thing.
Yeah.
And how the hell 6,000, 5,000 years ago do they know that?
Yeah.
And what explanations do we have? Like, what's the conventional explanations when people tried to dismiss what they knew in ancient Sumer?
Well, the conventional explanation is always going to the term mythology. They
Right.
throw mythology around, you know, left and right to cover up the fact that they have no clue or idea, so they turn it into mythology so they can kind of say it's all fantasy and fairy tales, and this is how they express themselves or how they understood the universe. It's all mythology, it's all fake, but in reality, it's not all fake. These people left behind such detailed records and information. It's a time capsule of information on stone tablets for us today to be able to decipher, break down, and understand, and that's what we're here to do now.
When you look at these ancient languages like cuneiform, can you read that? Do you know how to read it?
Yeah, a small amount of it, yeah. Studying it from books that I have bought right off of Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically you take a stick. It looks like a stick with a kind of a curved end, right? Almost sharpened. It's called a stylus. And then
just like a stylus for an iPad.
Exactly, very similar, right? And then you take a piece of wet clay, and right before it's too wet or too dry, right in the middle stage, you then start wedging, making these incredible lines into the clay, and then from that you get this cuneiform text. So this text literally, some of the letters actually relate to complete ideas. But it's incredible work, and it takes a long time to do. And then you have to let this thing dry, and then it becomes stone. So, if people were supposed to be trying to worry about how they're going to get their next meal, shelter for the night, and all these kind of things, who has time to sit down and write these incredible works of art like the Epic of Gilgamesh, for example?
Yeah.
So I think they really were writing down, and also they were transcribing information that was given to them by these quote-unquote gods with a lowercase g.
So when you're reading things like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, for people who don't know, is one of the oldest versions of a lot of the stories that you hear in the Bible. Very similar to them. There always seems to be a great flood. There's a few heroes. There's angry gods. There's a bunch of stuff going on. And Zecharia Sitchin's work was like the most controversial on the Sumerian text, right?
Yes.
Because there's a whole website called sitchiniswrong.com. Like people go crazy about him.
Yeah.
But when he starts talking about it, when you read some of the things that they wrote, and when you see like some of the images that they created, the images that look like the double helix from DNA, and there's a bunch of that now we represent the caduceus, which represents pharmacies and drugs. Like that's the old version of an image of the double helix of DNA, or at least it looks super similar to that.
Oh, it definitely is, because it's referenced even in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and other ancient texts. So there's no coincidences here. Now, Zecharia Sitchin, I don't particularly go by his work. Not because it's controversial. I believe he was one of the greatest researchers of all time. And the reason why is because he laid out so much information for us to begin to scratch our head and ask questions. But what I figured out was that by going through the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library, say that fast 10 times, I was able to take stone tablets and decipher them myself. So anyone can go online to the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library and read these stone tablets for themselves. You don't need Zecharia Sitchin. You don't need anyone else. And as I began to break these tablets down,
do they have them transcribed, or are you reading the actual tablet?
They transcribe them. They actually transcribe them into English for you.
Is there controversy as far as, like, are there different versions of the transcription? Like, do some people think it's interpreted differently? Is like some debate about that?
Only where it comes to where some of the text is missing. There could be pieces chipped off of tablets. You see that corner missing from that tablet right there in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Just look how wild is that?
Yeah.
Just how wild is that exists?
Yeah.
And that this was... It's so hard for people to put in their brain 5,000 years of time, and that there's these people that had this very bizarre language. Like when you look at that language, we don't even know what it sounds like, right?
Right. No, and the language popped up out of nowhere. You're talking about a civilization that appeared out of nothing.
It looks like computer code.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Just imagine like a human being deciding that they were going to write down in these very bizarre, and they all agreed that all these things mean a certain thing. So they had to somehow or another have a Rosetta Stone or something where they're documenting it so that people can learn it and teach it. And then we're looking at it 5,000 years later.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
It is. And what's incredible is this text was translated in the 1800s, long before Zecharia Sitchin was born. So there are some rumors that, he was the only one that could decipher these tablets. Well, no. George Smith, who worked as an Assyriologist and wrote many books and deciphered these Sumerian tablets in the 1800s. So we're talking about texts that have been deciphered for a few hundred years, nothing that was just deciphered recently.
So what are the first decipherings? Like what year was the first deciphering?
It was in the 1800s. I think around 1850. George Smith. He actually worked at the I believe it was Cambridge.
And what was his take? Like when he's reading all these wacky stories and all the Anunnaki stuff? Like what's his take on it?
He is literally subscribing to this information the way almost that you and I see it today. These people saw something, experienced something, interacted with something, and he cataloged it, and it inspired him to write a complete translation of the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation. And he talks about the fact that that information was copied right from those tablets and put into the Old Testament of the Bible. And so, not exactly like it's going to go from here to the Bible, but it went to other ancient papyruses and scriptures and so forth. And then later on, when it was discovered in caves, people took those and then said, okay, we got to put this into a book. And then it became the Bible much later, around 100 AD. But he subscribed to the theory that these people interacted with beings in some way, shape, or form, and that also this information is so incredible that it became part of the biblical text.
Did you ever read the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes, yeah.
So the Dead Sea Scrolls, what was it found in? What year was that? It was in Qumran, right? They found them.
It's Qumran, but I think again this was also, I believe, in the late 1800s or early 1900s.
Is when they found them. So these things are written on animal skins, and this is this is a very old version of those exact same stories, or some of similar stories.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weirdness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I haven't read it, but is there any references to anything that's similar, like Anunnaki type characters, the Nephilim, or anything like that in the Dead Sea Scrolls?
They show up everywhere. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Enuma Elish, and the Epic of Atrahasis. Of course, even in the Bible, they're known as the Anak, A-N-A-K. We were grasshoppers in their eyesight, it says in the biblical text. So no matter where you go in any culture, you're going to discover that these beings, in some way, shape, or form, engaged mankind, brought knowledge, teaching, building techniques, and just so much more wisdom and information, esoteric wisdom, alchemy. All these things came from these people.
So the craziest version of this story is that they genetically engineered us out of lower primates and put us here to mine gold.
Right.
And then established different types of civilizations and taught us how to build things, taught us all these different things. And enough time has passed that we've kind of forgotten. Enough time has passed. That's the wackiest version of it, right?
Right. That's the bare bones minimum.
Yeah, the wackiest version is that they made us, which is we've talked about this a couple of times, but how bizarre it is that human beings have this incredible fascination for gold. We're fascinated with gold.
Yeah.
This fascination with gold is really weird. Like, why back when it was basically useless? You couldn't make a knife out of it. You couldn't, like, it didn't make sense that this would be so valuable. Just because it's rare, you're barely alive. We're going, right? We're going back to full-on hunter and gatherer, our ancestors with spears and stone chipped, and then after that, gold emerges, and it stays.
Yeah.
It stays forever. Yeah. Now, when you read Zecharia Sitchin's book, he talks about this in the 1970s. His description of it was that they needed to suspend gold particles in the atmosphere because their atmosphere was being destroyed.
Right.
Then you move to like somewhere around the 2000s when climate scientists start proposing this idea of suspending reflective particles in the atmosphere.
Right.
And then when you realize the unique properties of gold, how unusual it is in terms of like a building material, you can coat things. The reason why things are like coated in gold, silver plated, gold plated rather, you can take a tiny piece of gold and cover an enormous area with it. It's a strange metal.
Yeah.
Like really weird. And what, the supposed story is, it's very common on Earth, very rare on Nibiru.
Right. Yeah, that's the story. And now when I started looking into this gold thing myself, and here's what I came up with. So when you start analyzing the text, you discover that there was an encampment in a place called South Africa at Adam's Calendar. Okay. Now, at Adam's Calendar, there's actually the very first gold mines discovered. They're dating them back to about 200,000 years ago. And that's incredible because there's a building there that looks like a worn down structure. Now, in the tablets, it talks about the fact that the Ijiji, who were the working class Anunnaki beings who were cleaning out the Euphrates and Tigris River so they can create irrigation and, create a bustling civilization. Also, they were doing the actual construction themselves. No people needed, just them working. They were like the construction workers, and Anu and Enki and Enlil, these leader gods, were like, the foremen, the master architects and so forth, right? The boss. So these people were working, but they weren't supposed to be enslaved. They were volunteers. They got tired of doing the work, according to them, for about 250,000 years of labor on Earth, and also, according to them, on Mars. This is in the text. They call it Lamu. And so they decided to go to war against Enki, Enlil, and Anu because their demands had not been met. So they went to meet them in the Epic of Atrahasis. They go to Adam's calendar. They go to that same structure that was discovered where that gold mine is located. I was like, holy crap, there is some link here to gold. Specifically, exactly, I don't know. But I know if you're an advanced civilization, you need gold. And the people that you have working it for you probably think, it's to adorn or to adorn yourself or in recognition of the gods. So they'll wear it and they'll utilize it, but not for technology. What's crazy is they go to war, they get ready to go to battle, and then Enki says, I have an idea that will stop this war. There's an existing being on this planet, existing, not something that doesn't exist, existing. We can add our essence to it with a slain god. So they're talking about taking the DNA or genetics from one of themselves and mixing it with the DNA of the hominid that was here. It's not specified whether it was, an ape man or anything, but they don't specify in the tablets, but to create a worker being. And they began to do this genetic modification, probably disconnecting some of our DNA, making genetic modifications to us to get us to take orders from them. They inserted something called a worship gene, which was just discovered recently, that human beings have a gene inside of them that can be turned on and turned off. It can be turned off in a laboratory setting. It can also be turned off with a magnetic field around your head. And when it's off, you don't want to worship anything outside of yourself. You look inside. And when it's on, you look to get something from the outside. So this is incredible. And so they made us worship people.
Gene
yes.
inside of us to make us worship them. Wow. How genius.
It's incredible because then you're not a slave anymore. You're doing this for the honor of the gods.
And for people who think all this talk is really crazy, I want to put into perspective that we talked about this the other day, that during which war was it where the Soviet Union was experimenting? It was scientists in the Soviet Union, correct? They're experimenting with creating a chimpanzee human being hybrid that they would probably send to war.
Yeah.
So instead of having regular people, we would make this monster, this freak, ape man, and send him to war and have him crush the enemies.
Yeah.
So it's just how crazy is that? They knew how strong chimps are. I got an idea. Let's turn a chimp human, and that way, if he dies, who gives a fuck?
Right.
We made him. Get him to go to work for us.
Yeah.
And now if you're a supremely enlightened being, wouldn't you think of human beings with all of our folly and all of our chaos and all of our war and bullshit and the internet and disinformation and misinformation, wouldn't you think of us kind of the same way we would think about that chimp hybrid thing?
JRE number 2141. What if the greatest space achievement in history didn't happen the way we were told?
So this is the one. He hops by, and as he hops by, the breeze makes the flag blow.
Because he's in an air environment. He's not on the moon.
Right. That is a weird one. Do it again. Look at this. As he hops by, he doesn't touch the flag.
Now, can I do
but the
devil's
flag blows.
advocate? What do you call it? Steel what?
Steel man.
Okay. The reason why it's doing that, and really on the moon, is because there's micrometeorites hitting him, and they're bouncing off of him and hitting the flag.
What?
Is that a pretty good one?
Is that real?
No.
I thought they were trying that one.
I was trying to come up with an excuse as to why the moon landings are real. You like that one?
That is a good one. Micrometeorites will mess you up.
Well, actually, Von Braun, we found publications of his. Mind you, my film cost $1 million. It was financed by a board member of an aerospace company who builds rockets for NASA, who knows it's fake, who gave me $1 million to produce these films as his patriotic duty to expose it. We found documentation from Von Braun that says every 24 hours on the moon, there's a 50% chance of a catastrophic, deadly error because of decompression from a micrometeorite. So they were there 3 days. They were 150% chance they would have been killed from a micrometeorite. Grain of sand traveling through space at 25,000 miles an hour. And he said you would have to immediately go into a cave once you landed. They never did that. He also said in writing, in order to go to the moon in one rocket, he says that cannot happen. You need 3 rockets, each weighing, each being 10 times the tonnage of the Queen Mary, or some 800,000 tons each, in order to go to the moon. And the Saturn V was 2,500 tons, not 800,000 tons. We have that in writing.
That was from his book, right? And what
That's
year
right.
was that?
I think that came out in 1959, and then he recanted on his math shortly thereafter by 30,000%. And now Elon Musk wants to, quote, return to the moon. And he says to return to the moon, we need to make 9 fuel trips first to ferry the fuel necessary to be able to go to the moon from there. That's exactly what Von Braun said in one of my clips at Sabrel.com. You have to make multiple fuel trips to go to the moon first to a space station, and then from there you can go. Elon Musk said the same thing. But how did they do it with a rocket that contained 1/30,000th of a percent of the amount of fuel Von Braun said it would take? One of
my favorite films is the film of the lunar module leaving the moon. When it leaves, when the camera pans, and let's show it. Let's show what year was that? Which
I think that was one of the last missions, and I think you're talking about where the camera perfectly tilts up, with the little model going up.
Yes,
and of course with the delay, how could you synchronize that? Of course you couldn't.
Well, you could, because it's 4 seconds, right? Just like it's radio waves.
Well, but it'd probably be more than that going through all the analog equipment.
Right, but you could time it. You could say you could have a 5-second delay. So this is it. So this is launching off the. Watch this.
And it's perfectly tilting up with it in real time.
It's just
with the remote control from NASA with the radio delay that I suspect would be more like 12 seconds.
But also
because today, if you say to someone in Atlanta talking to someone in Iraq, "Hey, how's it going?" 1, 2, 3. Hey, I'm doing fine.
What if they just
that's
put a timer on it?
That's just on
you can
halfway
put a
around
timer
the
on it.
world.
You can put the panning is interesting, but you could put a timer on it. The thing looking so goofy is so crazy. Like that thing is supposed to get off 1/6 Earth's gravity and fly like that. How? What's it doing? It looks so fucking fake. It looks like it's being pulled by strings. Look, it might be real. I'm certainly not an astronaut. I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you had a guess, if you showed this to me and said, "Hey, do you think this is real or fake?" and you didn't give me any context, I'd be like, "What is this? A cheap science fiction movie? What is this?" And then here it goes. Like, that's leaving a planet? How's it leaving? Is that some new space technology? Where's the fire coming out of the bottom of it? How's it doing that? I mean, it just looks fake. It might be real. It might be one of those things that is real but looks fake.
All right, see, so then this is where it gets weirder, because it doesn't say the timer. It said somebody in Houston had to anticipate the timing, ignition, liftoff, which I guess he could have guessed it was going to be in 5 seconds and just lifted the remote control.
Could he have guessed?
I have no idea what he was using. I have to look that up.
I guess you could guess if you say, "I'm going to launch
also, if they timed
in
it.
5," and so then you count 10, because he's going to, you got like a 5-second delay. And so when he gets to, like, if he counts down from 10, if he gets to 5, you hit it.
Well, there's a 3-second delay today, halfway around the world with modern equipment, talking from like Atlanta to Iraq.
Right.
3-second delay.
We also could have fucked it up. We
Only
could have never
halfway
seen
around
it.
the world with modern equipment.
He has to say it. So the guy on the
going-
moon has to say, "I'm launching now," and he has to wait 5 seconds.
It would be at least a 12-second delay, I think, and possibly more than that. The delay itself of the radio, light waves there and back, plus all that analog equipment.
But it is not
slowing it down.
impossible to do a 12-second delay. It's only 12 seconds. If you had a stopwatch and you counted it and you had a far enough vision where you could see the base of the lunar module, you could see it detach, and then you kind of got it, as long as you got enough of a field of view in the footage. But boy, it looks fake. It also looks fake in the way it's moving up. Watch it again, Jamie, because it's moving up like it's being pulled by strings.
Well, it looks fake because it is fake.
But most things that look fake are fake. Not all of them, but the vast majority of things that look fake are fake. Now watch how this pulls up. Here it goes. It detaches. It's like, what is that? Now, here's the question. Did they practice this at all on Earth? Did they practice taking off on one of those things, or could they?
I don't think they
because
did.
They couldn't.
practiced landing.
But here's the question. They
yeah.
couldn't, right? Because it wouldn't have the same amount of thrust on Earth because the gravity is so much stronger. So that thing wouldn't have been operational on Earth, right?
Well, they had a lunar lander simulator that Neil Armstrong almost got killed in 6 weeks beforehand. He couldn't fly it on Earth in the safety of a tried and true environment, and that was 6 weeks.
Right, but also,
beforehand.
again, the gravity of Earth is much greater than the gravity of the
Well,
moon.
they took that into account. It was supposed to be a simulation of it. But
So
the
it was more
simulation-
powerful to overcome Earth's gravity in comparison.
Right.
Yeah. But so then you're dealing with a totally different machine, and you're dealing with totally different factors. Maybe it would be easy with 1/6 Earth's gravity. Maybe easy, like wee, boom, it lands, and wee, it takes off.
Apparently it was.
But 1/6, I would like to know, like, how much thrust do you need to get off of the gravity of the moon if it's 1/6 Earth's gravity versus what it takes to get off of Earth? Like, what are those calculations, and how is that amount of force being generated by that thing? And is it? Because that would be a really good question. Because if you can't prove that you could do that, like, how do you do that?
Well, this is one reason why NASA destroyed all the schematics, all the electronics, all the diagrams of the equipment, because you could later prove that the lunar module, see, they claimed that the lunar module was powering air conditioning on a bank of car batteries and competed against 250 degrees outside and got it down to a comfortable 72 for 3 or 4 days. I mean, you try that at home, with your car batteries.
Also, batteries of today. Like, my
That's right.
Tesla only goes 350 miles if
That's
I
right.
drive real slow.
And so they're saying they powered air conditioning off much more primitive batteries, 24 hours, 3 or 4 days in a row, against 250 degree outside. So this is an indirect proof. If you really went to the moon and spent $200 billion, you would never destroy the technology. But one of the clips we have is them saying that they intentionally destroyed all of the equipment to go to the moon. All the diagrams, all the hardware, all the schematics, all the original telemetry of where the rocket was at the time, and all the original videotapes. Ron Howard's grandfather warned him the moon landings were fake. He didn't listen. He wanted to make an IMAX movie. He went to NASA, said, give me all the originals so I can transfer it to HD, and project it at 120 feet wide. They said, give us a couple of days. And in those days, they lost every single original videotape from every single Apollo mission. Now, if you really went to the moon and spent $200 billion, the last thing you would do is destroy that technology. But if you perpetrated a fraud, that's exactly what you would do.
So what is this, Jamie?
I think video of them practicing.
So is this
This is landing, but not
landing?
taking
Is
off.
that there's Neil Armstrong?
It's the same machine, I believe.
So this is the one that he was practicing on that he almost died in? Look at that thing. Wow, that's crazy.
There's also an article I found about how they filmed it. They tried on Apollo 15 and 16 and failed for different reasons, and then they finally got it right on 17.
So it was a timing thing. So several second delay. Here it goes. The cameras were very successful capturing the images of numerous EVAs, but while they could be controlled from Houston, it was felt that several second delay between Earth and the moon would make capturing the module's ascent impossible. So the plan was to pre-program the camera and hope that NASA camera operator in Houston, Ed Fendel, got his timing just right. On Apollo 15, the tilt mechanism malfunctioned, meaning the camera was never panned upwards, and thus the lunar module rapidly accelerated upwards and out of the picture. On Apollo 16 mission, the astronauts actually parked the rover in the wrong place, so while the cameras worked perfectly, it was too close to the module, and again, once it lit up the engines, it accelerated swiftly out of picture. Happily, Apollo 17 got everything right. But what is perhaps most remarkable about looking back on it was that no one realized the significance of the liftoff at the time. Persistent rumors suggest that NASA had to pay the networks to cover Apollo 17 mission at all. And when final liftoff of humanity from the moon took place, it barely raised a mention on that evening's news reports. That's a really important point, too, because people were really tired of it. Like, they were mad that it was interrupting I Dream of Jeannie.
I Love Lucy.
Oh, that's what it was. I
Yes.
Love Lucy. Yeah.
Well, that's from Wikipedia. that continually defends the fake moon landings. In fact, if you type in moon landing fraud, you don't get anything about the fraud. You get 1,000 videos defending, the supposed moon missions. Now, if the moon missions are real, then anyone who says otherwise is an idiot.
Okay, so how do they defend?
If I were going around saying George Washington was not the first president, it was really Mickey Mouse, do you think there'd be 1,000 videos to reassure people that George Washington was the first president and not Mickey Mouse? But there's 1,000 videos out there that took tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours to produce to defend the moon landings. If it's so obvious, they should speak for themselves. It has to be continually supported because it's made out of straw. That's why.
So the lunar module leaving the surface of the moon, how did they practice that? If it was the first time they ever pulled that off, the first time they ever tried it? Was that Apollo 11?
I think they used a simulation.
But did they do that on the moon?
Well, they couldn't practice. They
Right,
had to
so-
do
but
it for the first time. They
did
did it
they have the
flawlessly every
ability?
single time.
Did they have the ability to land something on the moon and have it take off remotely? Did they have that kind of control back then?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not, right? So if they did, if Apollo 11 did happen and they did take off, and that time they did it was the first time anybody had ever tried to use one of those things to get off the surface of the moon.
Worked every time flawlessly.
With a person in it, with two people in it. Three.
They landed
Two people in it, one person in the lunar orbiter.
10 were launched into space. Of those, 6 landed by humans onto the moon. First 2 were flown tests in low Earth orbit without a crew. That's Apollo, though.
Let's talk about the AI discovery.
Yeah.
You know about that, right?
But hold on, before we get going. So the first 2 were in America?
Dress rehearsal for the landing was Apollo 10 and then conducted on Apollo 11.
And so is there footage of them trying that thing?
Apollo 10?
No, just having it launch on Earth. I'd be fascinated to see what it looks like. How that thing gets into the air. Because if they were able to make a lunar lander that Neil Armstrong got in, that thing that looked very different than the ones that were on the moon. But that thing, if he's doing that to try to overcome the 6 times gravity that Earth has over the moon, what does that look like when they're testing that thing? Like, how much thrust does it have? And where is the engine? Where is the rockets that propel that thing into space? Like, where do you fit those? This is my question. And so how did they explain that away? Like, what is the conventional explanation as to how that thing had the amount of power that was required to get off of the moon's gravity, get away from the moon, and fly to Earth?
Well, how did they do it with 1/30,000% of the fuel that von Braun said they had to? Why is it today, to quote, return to the moon, you have to make 9 fuel trips to be able to go to the moon and return, but somehow they did it in 1 trip.
JRE 1228. Even astronauts faced accusations the moon landing never happened. Why did so many people believe it?
Although I did see this amazing video of Buzz Aldrin. Did you see this?
Oh, punching the guy who said he didn't go I know that guy. That guy, Bart Seabrill, that he punched. I went to dinner with that guy.
You know a moon landing denier?
Oh, yeah.
I know you know Alex Jones.
I used to be a moon landing denier. I used to believe totally that we never went to the moon because there was a documentary that came on Fox. Yes, trust me.
No,
Fox,
I didn't Google you hard enough before I came on here.
In the 1990s, Fox had a show called Conspiracy Theory: Did We Go to the Moon? And they aired it on television prime time, and they got me hook, line, and sinker. And for years, I believed that we didn't go to the moon.
What changed you?
Mostly talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson, but also critical thinking. Also realizing that I was fully committed to that idea without really exploring the possibility whether that idea was incorrect. And that I had taken everything that I saw in that documentary, which is incredibly convincing, and with 100% confirmation bias, I only looked at that and I didn't look at all the contrary evidence. There's some fucked up stuff about the moon landing, unfortunately. And the fucked up stuff is mostly people that were involved in publicity that were doing stupid things with photographs. Like they had taken a picture of... I'm
going into uncharted territory here, just so you know. Like, you're an expert on this.
Yes.
I've never gone into moon landing denialism, so I don't know about it.
Was Buzz Aldrin... who was the guy that was Michael Collins? Michael Collins in Gemini 15.
Jamie's like, I've
there was
heard
a photograph.
this before.
He's seen it many times. Pull out that photo. This is what I'm talking about.
With the shadow?
No. It has nothing to do with that. This is a photo that they put out as an official photograph of Michael Collins doing a spacewalk. But what it actually is a photo of them testing equipment, and they blacked out the background. So he's in this suit that they were doing with testing, and instead, because they really couldn't get good photos in space because no one's out there with him taking these pictures, right? So they lied. They faked it. This is it. So see the one on the left, you see the real photograph. And this is him in a studio where they're working on or warehouse rather, or some sort of a testing environment, working on how to control these harnesses that you would use when you were on a spacewalk. Because that thing, propels him forward and back, and he's learning how to use it. What they did was they just blacked out the background and reversed it, and then they sold that as him actually being in space. So this is probably an overzealous publicist. And there's a bunch of these. There's a bunch of these when it comes to different backgrounds in areas of the moon that are many, many miles apart from each other. It shouldn't be the same background. And more likely than not, what you're dealing with is overzealous publicists, because photographs were incredibly difficult to get, I'm sure.
Well, the moral of this story to me, thank God, first of all, that you're no longer a moon landing denier. But also the power of the media and the press. And like, you saw one documentary, right?
It was a couple after I saw that.
And
I saw quite a few.
But that sent you down this rabbit hole. And that,
JRE 2215. What if the Ark of the Covenant isn't just a legend, but a dangerous ancient object still hidden today?
Found out about you because of Fingerprints of the Gods, and one of the things that I found most fascinating when I started going into your work was the idea that the Ark of the Covenant exists in Ethiopia.
That's what brought me into this field. Before that, I wrote all about current affairs.
That story is so nuts, and it sounds so ridiculous, and people, you go, what? The Ark of the Covenant's real? But then when you go into the history of these people that lived there, and they all suffered radiation poisoning, and it's like, wait a minute.
Cataracts over their eyes. And let's not forget that there's an indigenous population of Old Testament Jews in Ethiopia, the Falashas, who have their own story about how the Ark of the Covenant got there. Different from the Ethiopian national epic, which is called the Kebra Nagast, the glory of kings. That's why I got into this field. I was a current affairs guy, and Ethiopia was on my beat, and I just kept on coming across this story, and I realized it was central to Ethiopian culture, and I decided to investigate it and explore it, and it led to The Sign and the Seal, which was published in 1992, and that's what set me on the path to Fingerprints of the Gods and everything that followed that.
So who is getting the cataracts?
The guardian of the Ark. This is a monk who is appointed. The place is Aksum in the province of Tigray in northern Ethiopia. It's a massively interesting place. Aksum has these huge granite stelae. They're very similar in many ways to ancient Egyptian obelisks. They're a bit different in shape, but same sort of height, some of them going 110 feet high, cut out of solid granite, right up there in the highlands of Ethiopia. And then they have an ancient church, the Church of St. Mary, cathedral actually of St. Mary of Zion, where the Ark apparently was kept for hundreds and hundreds of years. Before that it was kept elsewhere, and then now it's been moved into a chapel that stands next to St. Mary of Zion Cathedral. And that chapel is guarded by armed men. The whole town is an armed camp that is protecting what they believe to be the Ark of the Covenant, but it's guarded particularly by one guy who is the official guardian of the Ark, and he's elected by other monks to be the guardian of the Ark, and several of them have run away when they get that election, because once you're elected as the guardian of the Ark, when the previous one has died, you're going to be kept in that chapel forever. You'll never be allowed to leave it. So they're close to whatever this object is. They're close to it. And I met 3 of them over a succession of years, because their mortality is once they're appointed, they die very soon. And they all had these cataracts over their eyes, and they all blamed the object in that chapel, whether or not it's the Ark, for causing their blindness.
Wow.
So it's
and no one is going in there and trying to get to the bottom of it. They won't let you.
They won't let you. They won't let you.
Can you bribe them?
No.
It seems like someone should go look.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
What's in there? I mean, if we really find out the Ark of the Covenant was an actual object,
I think it was an actual object.
And you think it was some nuclear something or another? Like,
I don't know what
it was.
I think it's what is rightly described as an out-of-place artifact. Because if you look at the description in the book of Exodus, the very precise dimensions of it, I think in modern terms we'd say 3 feet 9 inches long by 2 feet 3 inches high and wide. It's got a layer of gold, it's got a layer of wood, it's got another layer of gold. It's very precisely specified, like a blueprint in the book of Exodus. And then it does all this stuff. It shoots out jets of fire and kills completely innocent people. It kills 50,000 Philistines in the city of Ashdod when they briefly capture it from the Israelites and make the mistake of treating it like a tourist object, and they open the Ark of the Covenant and look inside, and suddenly everybody in that city is dying, and what they're dying of is cancerous tumors. This is described in the Old Testament. So it's intriguing that this object is so precisely specified and is reported to have done these terrible things.
It's just insane that we know where it is.
Well, we know that I believe Ethiopia has a very strong claim to it, but that's all I can say because I've not seen it myself. I've been right outside the door of that sanctuary chapel several times. But
did you bring a Geiger counter?
No. That would be a good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine it was going nuts as you got close.
That would be a good thought.
I mean, it's not like it's going to be, if it's radioactive, it's not like it's going to be contained just this one small area. You're going to have traces of it that leak out.
That's true. It would be a good way to
especially if people are getting cataracts from being in the room with it.
Yeah.
And so 3 different people you talked to have cataracts from that.
Yeah, and they all blame the Ark. And one of them, it's a resonant phrase, which sticks in my memory. I asked him why, and he said the Ark is a thing of fire. Just that.
Did he describe it to you?
He did describe it as a box, rather like the biblical description, unsurprisingly. But
did he describe what it looked like the outside of it?
Gold.
Gold.
Mm-hmm. Gold.
Wow.
And of course, gold is a very good insulator against radiation. I don't want to go too far down this track. To me, the fascinating thing is that Ethiopia is the only country in the world that actually claims to have the Ark of the Covenant. That it's central to religion and culture in Ethiopia today. That there's much to support that argument, particularly in the form of the Falashas, the Ethiopian Jews, and their very ancient traditions about how they got to Ethiopia in the first place. In context of all of that, I think Ethiopia has a very good claim. Very interesting claim, and that's why.
JRE 2119. What if the biggest threat to freedom isn't aliens, but a system quietly being built around us?
Yeah, I mean, there's a strategy. The reason the border is the way that it is well, there's a strategy. I don't know who's playing the strategy for sure, but the Cloward Piven strategy, I'm sure you've heard of that. Somebody's got to have talked to you about the Cloward Piven.
Can you explain it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The idea is that you take advantage of a system in the way that it's set up so that you overwhelm it. In particular, in this case, you're going to overwhelm social services. You're going to overwhelm, border enforcement. You're going to overwhelm whatever they're doing in the cities. It's like tens of thousands of dollars per taxpayer or whatever per year going to dealing with what they're calling the migrant crisis. So you try to overwhelm the system in order to basically collapse it so that you can create a crisis, and the crisis creates the excuse to bring in new policies. Oh, well, maybe what we need is, what do they call it, E-Verify or something? So we need a digital system where we can track who everybody is, but then they get their digital system and then you're off to the races. But yeah, this is an old strategy, well documented.
Who do you think is implementing this strategy, and what are the conversations, do you think?
Well, it's not possible to deny that the Biden administration is implementing it because, look, they tried to fight Texas on securing its own border to protect its own citizens. That blew up, what was it, end of January? Is that when it all blew up?
Very recently, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. And so certainly they are. We know historically that the Open Society Foundation, or the Soros Foundation, which is Open Society, has been funding that and has been helping out. We know that the UN is involved now. Like, these aren't mysteries. The UN is coming and doing, aid and coaching them, and somebody's organizing. It's not just a bunch of people from South America and China or wherever else, or Mexicans wandering up to the border and just, hey, I'm here. There's routes. It's caravans. There's help. It's coordinated with a lot of money behind it. And we know that those organizations, for the United Nations particularly, is helping this. So big players.
So what do you think the strategy is? The strategy is to implement some sort of a worldwide verification system, and the way to get these freedom-loving shitheads in America on board is to turn America into a crime-ridden place of immigrants coming from very hostile places where their life has been very hard.
Yeah.
And they've been in prison or whatever, and they're
Yeah.
escaping that, and they're coming to America, and then they're off to the races.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a plausible motive, right? Is let's overwhelm this system because these freedom-loving shitheads here in America, which I think I am for sure.
Look at your shirt.
Look at me, yeah. But no, I really am. Like I'm still at the end of the day, I just kind of want to be left alone to live my life. Like you do your thing, I'll do my thing. Like if you understand there are two lines. Let's be real clear. Before I say do whatever you want, as long as you don't hurt anybody, it's not clear enough. There are two lines. Do you understand the difference between public and private, and do you understand the difference between adult and child? If you understand those two lines, and you're on the right side of those, I don't care what you do in private as long as it's with adults. I don't care what you do. Leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. You're cool. I'm cool. Like, let's not interfere with one another.
Which is how we all should be.
Right.
That's what real freedom is.
But we don't want a system, tying us, like the Chinese social credit system's real, right? This isn't some conspiracy out in the world. Whether or not it's coming to the United States is a question. Whether Americans would want it is a question, but it's in China. That's real in China. It's been there for a decade. I've been to China. I've experienced, life there. And the fact of the matter is that that worldwide verification system would set something like that up. You can also overwhelm the U.S. system so that all of a sudden, it has to start taking some kind of an emergency measure to deal with whatever problems. We can talk about the crisis here in the United States.
JRE 1919. Scientists warn AI could soon sound human enough to fake real intelligence. Would we even notice the difference?
Chat GPT?
Fascinating question.
Yeah.
Have you experimented with it at all?
I have not, but someone, the gentleman who runs the JRE companion page, made a rap with Chat GPT. Like, was it if Kanye West wrote a rap for Chat GPT? They put it on Instagram, but it's like, it seems like a person saying it. Like,
you want to try it?
No.
We could try anything you want.
I mean, it takes a long time.
Not really.
His thing took like 48 minutes to do.
Well, whatever you want to look up right now, we can do it.
Yeah, the problem is you have to cajole it. It'll get
gotta know
something
how to use
wrong,
it.
and you have
But
to say,
let's just
no, not
explain
that
what
way.
it is.
So ChatGPT is a large language model trained artificial intelligence, which is, let's just say, it can be awful, but it is often surprisingly good at answering questions you might have about how to do things. One of the great triumphs of it is that coders are now asking it to solve coding problems, and it will actually write code that is functional. It's pretty amazing. And it also, there's an implementation of it that if you feed it up to 3 tweets, it will write a New York Times story in one of 5 genres, optimistic, pessimistic, neutral. And, you don't really need the New York Times anymore because it's pretty good at this job, right? So on the one hand, it's all very interesting that we're living in an era in which there is at least, and this is a prototype, right? This is a prototype that was specifically trained and then placed on the internet so people could play with it, and I've seen lots of interesting uses. It's going to get better, right? We're dealing with ChatGPT 3. There's going to be a ChatGPT 4, which is going to be that much better because it will be built with the improvements that have been gained through turning this one loose on the world. But I have to say, I am quite alarmed. Not only that this thing exists, but I don't think we're ready for it. And I don't think we're ready for it in a couple different ways. I mean, if you want to comfort yourself and say, well, this isn't that serious that we have this AI that can do these really shocking things, the comforting thing is that the way it's programmed, it doesn't know what it's saying. It doesn't matter that it convinces you that it's saying something and it means it, and that it seems like a creative entity. What it's doing is it is basically using a predictive model that has been trained on a huge data set of written language, right? So the answer is, if you take 3 words in a row, can you predict what the next word is going to be? And they've exposed it to a large data set, and it's gotten really good at predicting basically these sequences to the point that it can now, if you prompt it correctly, it can spit out these very long explanations. Some of them are dead wrong. Sometimes they're right on target. But I have 2 concerns about it. One, if you imagine that this thing just gets a little better than it is, which is inevitable, that it's going to make actual insight that much harder to spot, right? In other words, if you become expert at operating this thing, at querying it, and it becomes better at understanding a wider range of topics because they turn it loose on everything that's written on the internet, for example, right? Then the point is the ability to fake expertise is going to go through the roof. I don't think we know how we're going to police a world in which, this problem's already bad enough. Most academics are fakers. They don't know that, right? They trained in something, they wrote a dissertation, they think they're experts, but you can see when something unexpected happens, like the pandemic, you get just broad-scale failure across entire disciplines where nobody seems to get it right, right? So in that world, this is going to be even worse because now you have an artificial intelligence able to generate things in plain English that are often full of true information, but you don't know whether what generated it is some, brain-dead model or something else. That's one concern. And then the other concern is when we say, well, ChatGPT doesn't know what it's saying. It's not conscious. We know it's not conscious because it's not programmed to have a consciousness. We are actually ignoring the other half of the story, which is that we don't know how human consciousness works, and we don't know how it develops in a child, right? A child is exposed to a world of adults talking around them, and the child experiments first with phonemes and then words and then clusters of words and then sentences. And by doing something that isn't all that far from what ChatGPT is doing, it ends up becoming a conscious individual. And so I think it's clear that ChatGPT isn't conscious. It couldn't be. But it isn't clear, to me at least, that we are not suddenly stepping onto a process that produces that very quickly without us even necessarily knowing it.
Oof. And what steps, if any, can be done to mitigate that at this point?
Well, it's interesting. I wrote a paper, which I never published anywhere, in, I think, 2016 about this very issue. In fact, I used basically the argument that you could attain artificial general intelligence by imbuing computers with a childlike play environment for language and then exposing them to a huge data set, which is not exactly what's happened here, but it's in the ballpark. And I would argue, and I did argue, that one needs to build an architecture in which this can't get away from you, right? And so the architecture that I advocate for is actually a metamorphosis architecture where metamorphosis is not allowed. It is an affirmative choice of humans. So in other words, if you think about, let's say that we developed some artificial frogs to do some job, to clear some waterway of something, and we imbued them with an intelligence so that they could learn to clear the waterway better, but we worried that they might learn to do something that we don't want them to do and that we would have no way of arresting it once these frogs were released in the wild and capable of producing more of themselves. But if what you say is, well, at the point at which you go from a tadpole to a frog, you have to ask us if you can go, right? There's no automatic transition from a tadpole to a frog. There are still dangers, right? In the case of GPT chat, I think some of the artificial intelligence existential risk folks would tell you that one of the dangers is that the chat AI could convince you to do its bidding, right? As you said, when you were looking at this, it felt like a person, right? And the point is, something that feels like a person can play on your emotions, right? Can that be used to cause a fail-safe to be removed? Maybe. But in any case, this only deals with one of the two issues I'm raising, the question of actual artificial general intelligence arriving, us not knowing necessarily that it has, right? That's a frightening prospect. And in fact, I have a little thought experiment that might reveal why. But the other issue is the issue of competence. In a world where, you basically have, you have a Cyrano de Bergerac dystopia where everybody is using this thing behind the scenes in order to say things that are beyond their own capacity to articulate, right? Then the world becomes some new kind of hall of mirrors. We've had a hard enough time dealing with algorithms on, on search and feed. This is a whole next level of difficulty in knowing where you are and who you're talking to and what it means and what their motives are. And I think we ought to be on high alert.
Whew. When you extrapolate, when you look at what this does and what it's capable of, and what scares people is something that seems to be a person, but doesn't have any emotion, doesn't have any soul. It's not us, but it behaves exactly as us. And then you can put it in a physical entity. So if you have this chat GPT and then you extrapolate to version 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's a physical thing that has this ability inside of it to communicate with you like Ex Machina, where it's exhibiting all of the behavior characteristics of a person. Like one of the most terrifying that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. One of my favorite movies of all time was when that guy who was brought in to sort of run some tests on these artificial intelligence creations and determine whether or not they pass as human. What is that test called again? The
Turing test?
Turing test.
Yeah.
And he is in love with this woman. She's manipulated him to the point where he's aided her in her escape, and then she leaves him in that room with the bulletproof glass, and he's pounding on the glass, and she walks away with not a thought at all about him. It is the ultimate example of the worst case scenario of where this can go, where you have something that behaves exactly like a human being and knows how to play upon your sexual urges, your emotional desires, all of those different things that she plays upon. And then she just walks away from him and leaves him to starve to death in this fucking bulletproof room.
Yeah. And, I'm now recalling the film, and it's done very well because it manipulates you passively in your seat.
Yes.
Right, as it manipulates this character on the screen. And so you are betrayed too.
Yes.
In this. You want to believe that it's emotional, and it has none of that.
You feel bad for this woman, what you think is a woman, who is contained. And, when she's saying to him when the power goes out, don't trust him. And then, the power comes back on. She behaves normally again. You're like, oh, my God. Like, she's trapped.
Right.
Like, this poor creature, they've made a person, essentially. And she has these thoughts and hopes and dreams, just like a regular person. But now she's trapped, and he falls in love with her. And even though he's seen her in her robot form, when she puts skin on and when she puts clothes on and she's in front of him, he's in love with her.
Right. And it, again, it plays very well because there's a manipulable circuit in straight men
Yeah.
Right, that's going to react to this.
I'm sure straight women as well. I'm sure gay women,
Gay
gay
women,
men.
no doubt, no doubt.
Everybody.
Well, yes, but in this particular narrative,
Right,
you'd
but I
have to
mean-
be a gay woman or a straight man
Right.
for it to trigger you. But part of this is actually inevitable in the ChatGPT story, because especially to the extent that this is a mindless entity that doesn't know what it's doing, it's
Right.
just striving to do it better.
Yes.
The tactics that work will register as, oh, you did it right. So to the extent that you have those vulnerabilities in you and it finds them and that works, then the point is reinforcement. Right?
It scares us because it's not us, but it is us.
Well-
because it's behaving exactly like us, but it doesn't have all the things that make a person a person. It doesn't have the biological vulnerabilities. It doesn't have the ability to actually sexually reproduce. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have all these different things that we like to think of. The soul, whatever that means, whatever that term actually means.
Yeah, but I'm worried about what could be generated. And I know that it will sound to a lot of people, especially technological people, like a biologist out of his depth.
Mhm.
But I don't think so. This is a biologist trying to say something about the biology and what it applies about this analogous system.